Wait, there's something very weak coming through.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, fellow Galactic listeners. I'm Aaron Julian, and this is WSTR Galactic Public Access, a Star Wars podcast. Welcome to episode 129. Today, we're bringing you something special. We're going to have a good time, but might be a sad time too, because we're going to be remembering an amazing Star Wars story, Mr. Bruce Alred. Joining me today, as always, is Miss Heather Allred.
Hey, everybody.
And, of course, Mr. Todd Hoffman.
Hello there.
Glad you two could join us.
It wouldn't be much of a podcast if we didn't join. So
yeah,
True.
That's true. It'd just be
true.
talking to myself.
Which could be entertaining.
It could be.
based on before we start recording, I think it would be. Yeah,
it would. I had meant to say microphone, and the word that came out of my mouth was microwave. And
you're the audio engineer, and we just don't know what you're talking about. So
I know it's how I keep my job security. I
Right.
just I go over your heads all the time.
That's right.
And pass me the hydro spanner.
Right. Exactly.
All right, stick with us. We're going to pay some bills here because the price on your head is not an easy thing to live with. You could find everybody here on the podcast, except for me, on social media. WSTR Media, all one word, all lowercase. You can send us an email at mailbox@wstrmedia.com. Leave us a voicemail at 630-557-WSTR. That's 630-557-9787. We want to hear from you, and you want to hear yourself on our show. So if you want to hear your gorgeous voice blasted across the galactic holonet, give us a call, give us a ring, don't be shy, and the Force will be with you. Our entire back catalog of episodes and all links to all of us everywhere can be found at podcast.wstrmedia.com, the home of WSTR. Here's why you should check out Audible.
Tell us why.
As you know, Amazon, in their infinite wisdom, has given us the Audible audiobook streaming service. So it's an easy, no-risk way to support this podcast and find some entertainment and education in the downtime of your day, which we all know you have. We all know Todd has with his, hour and a half commute.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
True story.
It's a lot, but a good audiobook can get you through it.
It just makes the time go by so fast.
So Audible is the home to all the audiobooks you can shake a stick at, which they bring you over 425,000 titles to choose from, wherever and whenever you want to listen. If you want to get in on this action, support your local favorite podcast. While you do so, head on over to audibletrial.com/WSTR, and you get to claim your free 30-day trial, which includes a free audiobook of your choice every month, and now two free Audible originals with a new selection cycled out each month. So what in the dang heck are Audible originals? They are audiobooks produced for and available exclusively through Audible. You can't find them anywhere else. At the time of this recording, they're just about to cycle out a new selection, so we don't know what you can find. Todd, I think you and I enjoyed the Alien 3 William Gibson script.
Yes. Did you finish that?
I did.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So,
did you like it better than the actual theatrical release of Alien 3?
It's like comparing apples to oranges, so I don't know, but story-wise I enjoyed it better.
Yeah.
William Gibson, he's the man. He wrote Neuromancer, and which is a crazy good sci-fi book. He almost single-handedly started the whole cyberpunk genre. So,
dude, I did not know this.
Yeah, he is not one to be trifled with. And for those who don't know, he wrote a version of the script for Alien 3, which was tossed out and left in some film executive's drawer for who knows how long until someone found it. It got published online, I think, before the movie came out.
Oh, okay.
And now it's gotten new life in audio drama form, which you can get. Well, by the time you hear this, you could have gotten on Audible service. I think you could still buy it. You just don't get it free with your membership or your trial. So, but that's on there. That's waiting for you this month. And by the time you hear this, there's going to be a new selection out. So, yeah, that's 2 free Audible originals, 1 free audiobook every month. And the first one's on Amazon. If you head on over to audibletrial.com/WSTR, we get a little something, something. You get a little something, something. Everybody wins. And this podcast is also brought to you by our merch store. If you head on over to store.wstrmedia.com, you'll be hyperspace traveled across the galaxy to our store over at Teespring. And you can get covered head to toe in WSTR merch. That's right, hats. We don't have gloves, but we have...
I hope we don't need gloves at this time of the year, but you never know.
No.
You never know. Just talk. Okay. I'll bring it up later. We got hats, we got shirts, we got hoodies, we've got mugs, stickers, yoga pants, socks, everything you could need over at store.wstrmedia.com. I think that's it. I think we paid the bills. Heather.
Yes, sir.
To safeguard those who don't want to be spoiled by Star Wars news and happenings,
yes,
can you give us just a hint, just a little teaser, so we can to keep us with bated breath until the end?
Totally. So I've just got, as always, a few minimal amount of words to really just whet the appetite of all things happening. So here we go. Numero uno. Scavenger scum.
I think I had that on the bottom of my shoe the other day.
Bummer. And secondly, we have cargo pilot.
Ooh, space trucking?
I have no idea what that means, people. The Academy.
Are you talking the Academy?
I mean, it is a capital T for the word the, so maybe.
Or the Jedi Academy.
Ooh.
These are why these are teasers. You never know.
And then lastly, hugs mean love.
Oh, it's so saccharine. I can't stand it.
It's crazy, but hopefully everyone's on the edge of their seats now, just waiting for later. But until that time, I'm going to hand it off to Todd Hoffman.
All right, it's that time. Twitter trash compactor.
Get in there, you big polio! I don't care what you smell! Get in there, don't worry about it!
All right, every week we do the polls on the old Twitter and try to figure out what is been voted on. So this week we were talking about the rise of Skywalker with our good friend Brandon, and we asked the question, what are you most looking forward to in the rise of Skywalker? And of course, you're limited to, 4 choices. So here are the 4. New planets, new characters, closure, the unknown. So we're going to start with Aaron since, he was bounty hunting last week. And
True.
Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to from the rise of Skywalker? These 4 choices, or you can do a write-in because you like to do that as well. So
Yeah. So new planets and new characters, that's kind of a joke because there's not going to be any. I mean, you're going to have your weird aliens, but they're going to be on screen for like 5 seconds, and then you'll read all about it on the DK Encyclopedia of Star Wars.
That could be an action figure worth $1,000 from like 10 years. 10 years.
It could.
Very true.
But buy in now. Closure, please, because I really don't know how they're going to finish things after the Last Jedi, especially with Princess Leia and her whole deal. The unknown. Herm. There's really only one big unknown, and in my mind, and that's what's the Emperor doing, being alive and all that. So I'd put my vote in for closure.
Closure.
Honestly,
Wow.
that's where I'm at.
I love how you kind of thought through that. So I appreciate your mental journey with us.
Yeah.
Heather, what have you voted, or what would you vote?
Yeah, I will not be nearly as eloquent as that. But I also agree with Aaron by saying closure. I think I just really want to know how they're going to wrap up these storylines. I think that's what I mentioned last week. Where are they taking this? How are stories going to end? Is it done, or is it done plus,
Right. Yeah. us
wanting more?
Right. I got you.
That's my vote.
You're saying closure. Okay.
I am.
I said this last week, and I voted for it. I'm going for the unknown. I want this to end not clean. I want it to have some closure, I guess, but a clean ending is just, I don't know. I want the show to go on and the story to go on. Even if it doesn't, I just want it to be like, what? And get me back in the seats, 10 minutes later. So I'm going for the unknown. Like, I don't want that cliche Hollywood ending. I want it a little dirty, a little unclean. And I think that would be cool, because that's why I love Empire so much, because good guys didn't win. And I love that. I love that kind of feel. So, but Twitter has voted. Actually, this poll, as of this recording, the poll is still kind of open, so it could flip flop. So, but right now, honestly, Twitter's with me on this one. The unknown. I know 50% have voted the unknown. So, but closures, closing in.
We're not far behind. We're not.
It's
far
closing
behind.
in. It's closing in. So, again, it might finish, and we would have to repost and be like, oh my gosh. But right now, the unknown is winning. So Aaron, you're out of your Dagobah cave.
Yes.
Come to surface and see the light for a little bit in Twitter. Usually we do the spicy tweets, but we're on the Spider-Man kick. So I just figured, hey,
what's that about? Is it because of my love for Tobey Maguire? Is that it?
So 3 weeks ago, Tobey was teased for the Sam Raimi 4. Last week we found out that wasn't the case. It's just JJ and his son writing a comic. No big deal. So because Spider-Man is like literally when this recording drops, it will be out in the theaters. IGN ranked the Spider-Man movies. So I figured we'd just take a quick moment and make this like a Spidey corner for half a second and run through this real quick. So top 10, it's going 10 to 1, top 10. Here we go. So number 10, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I never saw that. Did anyone see that? I never saw it. That's with Andrew Garfield. Anyone see that?
I think I did.
No.
Okay. That's where Jamie Foxx is like Electro.
Yeah. Clearly I don't remember it, but I do think I saw it.
Yeah, I think I did. Then there's an amazing...
Didn't have Paul Giamatti as the Rhino?
It might have. This is the one. I don't know. I think so. The next one, The Amazing Spider-Man. This was basically 10 years after the last one, 5 years after Spider-Man 3. It's a different Spider-Man. It's Andrew Garfield. This is his main antagonist was the Lizard. I kind of like this one. I thought it was pretty good. Did you guys see this one too?
No.
Poor Andrew Garfield. He didn't even get to get 3 movies. He just got 2.
He didn't deserve the fate he got.
Yeah. 8 is Spider-Man 3, which I think should be 10 because Spider-Man 3 is This is the one.
You didn't like it that much?
Oh no, it's just too much.
You didn't like sad emo Peter Parker?
Did not like sad emo
strutting his stuff.
Yeah. I do love the memes and the gifs of sad emo Tobey Maguire, but it's really the Venom thing that just. I mean, I like Topher Grace, but Venom was just awful.
The best part of that movie though was Sandman.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
really underused, but
That's true.
I think my favorite part of that movie was that sequence where there's no dialogue or anything, but he's like just, he's just been pulverized into sand and it's kind of like reforming for the first time.
Yeah.
And like he's not quite good at it yet, and like chunks are falling off, and I think there's some memento that he's looking at that is his daughter's.
Right. Right.
Heartbreaking scene.
Yes.
But yeah, there's a lot of head scratchers in that movie too.
Yeah.
Like Peter Parker punching his girlfriend in the face.
They can't get away with that now,
Oh man.
All
right.
right.
Yeah, that's a lot of reasons why I love Sam Raimi, is because like when he's good, he's really good, but when he's bad, it's hilariously bad.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, number 7, Captain America: Civil War. So technically not
An official
Spider-Man movie, but it's Sony Spider-Man in Marvel. Heather, what did you think of this one?
I mean, come on. He's just so dang cute. I mean, there's no denying that I love this kid. I love Tom Holland. I think he's amazing.
Yeah.
I love what they did in the film and just portraying him being so young compared to everybody else.
Like more than young, inexperienced.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, well, yes.
And eager to please, and by golly, he did. He stole Captain America's shield. He stole our hearts.
It's very true.
And he won my heart because there's an Empire Strikes Back reference.
Do you guys remember that really old movie?
Oh.
I'm like, it's not that old. And it's like,
yeah, it is. Yeah.
35 years old.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's 40 this next year.
Yeah.
So there you go. So there you have it. Okay, so that's good. All right, Avengers: Infinity War is number 6 according to IGN. The bits that Spider-Man and Tom Holland's in this is, I think, some of the best. And again, I just love his relationship with Tony, and it's very, I don't know. I like this one. I think it should be higher.
You really should.
Yeah.
Because, Iron Man, he kind of gets that brief taste of being a dad.
Yeah.
Or like a father figure.
Yes. Yeah.
For Spider-Man there.
Yeah.
Then it, spoilers, slips through his fingers.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
So.
Number 5, Spider-Man. So this is the first Tobey film.
It should be number 1.
This one I think actually should be higher because
I would agree.
It's my favorite sequence is when he's trying to shoot the webs for the first time and he's like, Shazam, he's like doing all this different stuff. And I really do like this because again, it's that classic, come to age hero movie and he's trying to figure himself out. And I do love Tobey's performance in this, even though like everyone in high school is like 30 years old.
Yeah,
that's the only one. Like Flash is, I forget who his name is, but he's some famous actor now, and he's like looks like he's 40 and that, So, but yeah, I really do like this one. I feel like it should be a little bit higher.
Yeah, it kind of it came at just the right time.
Yeah,
because it was like, well, it put superhero movies on the map and made blazed the trail for Marvel movies and that whole the MCU cinematic universe. But also this article mentions that It came just a year after the 9/11 attacks.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
we all really needed a hero to root for, and this came at just the right time.
Well,
so,
and it highlights New York, which
yeah.
which is also cool.
There's like one shot in particular where it's like Green Goblin, he's flying around, and like people on the bridge start like throwing stuff at him, and they're like, I think one of the guys is like, "You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us."
Right.
And it's he's got a heavy New York accent on it, and it's like that was specifically added after the 9/11 attacks because they wanted that sense of like the city coming together, which it did.
Yeah, which it did. And they had to alter the poster because it did have the trade towers in it and all that kind of stuff. There's all that. The other thing I would mention with this one is like we saw this when we went to Celebration 2. Jordan was like, I don't know, 6 or something, and we watched that, and we went to the theater in like Indianapolis, and so he's got his lightsaber, but he's also being Spider-Man at the same time, jumping across the beds, and it's one of the things I remember the most about that. So, for Spider-Man: Homecoming, so this is the first Tom Holland Spider-Man. Heather, what do you think about this one? Does that seem about right for you? A little lower, a little higher?
I feel like it's kind of in the right spot. I think, if the first Tobey movie was a bit higher within some of the other things that we still haven't talked about yet, I do think it's pretty well placed. Again, I just like Tom Holland. I think he plays a really good Peter Parker. He just warms my heart. So
yeah, and there again, this is a little bit what we talked about, like with Infinity War. There's a lot of Tony Stark in this one, and there's a nice, again, him trying to be a hero, but Tony's like, "You're okay, I got this," type thing. So
I really just like his jitteriness. I feel like he's a good jittery, so that when he actually becomes Spider-Man and is a little bit more suave.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just plays nicely for me.
Yeah, and there's some direct, similar to what like Spider-Man and even Spider-Man 2 did this. Like, there's a couple of shots that are straight up from the comic, and this one in Homecoming, when he gets knocked down by the Vulture and like the buildings have collapsed on him, is straight up from the comic, and it's very powerful. And I really enjoyed that scene where he sees the reflection of his mask and it's broken, and it's great. It's great. Stan Lee's great. This is kind of hard to tell because the movie's technically not out yet, but Spider-Man: Far From Home is number 3. So we could just say, okay, I guess they liked it.
Shrug.
Sure. They've seen it.
I don't know. Yeah, it seems unfair.
Yeah. Yeah. They saw it, and so they liked it, so they moved it up, I guess. Okay, number 2, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So I talked about this last week. I just saw it for like the 50th time. Have you guys seen this yet?
Don't get mad at me. I have not.
Okay, it is now on Netflix.
It's on the FlixNet.
It's on the Netflix, so that's probably what Heather's gonna do tomorrow.
All right.
This movie actually for me is number 1. It is fantastic. The animation's fantastic. The voice acting is fantastic. It won an Oscar, so it's a big deal. It's like everything you need and more. So yeah. You guys have to go see it. You have no excuse now. It's on Netflix.
It's like Avengers, but Spider-Man.
Right, exactly. And then finally, number 1 on IGN is Spider-Man 2. I mean, yeah, I like this one. Doc Ock is like the villain in this one for the Tobey Maguire Peter Parker here, and there's a lot of him struggling with being kind of like a superhero, and then with Mary Jane, and just like I kind of like all this stuff. I don't know if it's number 1. Again, I like Spider-Verse better. What do you guys think about this one?
Oh man, I think it's number. It's on the same level for me as Spider-Man 1. Yeah. Just because, in their own ways, because Spider-Man 1, it's like, what I love about it is like it just, unlike a lot of movies lately, it just has that kind of freedom to be kind of a little cheesy and hokey in a comic
Right.
book way,
Yeah.
and not apologize for it, which I really love, and it doesn't go like too far with it. And then Spider-Man 2, it's just like the characters and the writing are amazing, and the action sequences still hold up today, and they're incredible.
Yeah.
It's such a good 2 movies.
That opening or that one where the taxi cab is coming into the window where they're having coffee is like amazing. It's amazing. Heather, you got anything to add for about Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think it's number 1. I do think it's probably in the top 4 for sure. I will say that I think I like Doc Ock as the villain better than Green Goblin in the
Green
first film.
Lantern. No,
Norman Osborn.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, so from a villain standpoint, I like 2 better than 1.
Sure.
But
Mr. Alfred Molina.
Okay, there you go.
I'd be scared of him. I'm just going to put that out there.
Well, and he plays from a villain perspective. He's like a sympathetic villain. There's tragedy there. So that always helps. So he's just not a bad guy. He's just a bad guy. So one of those things.
Todd's
So there you
favorite
go.
quote.
So yeah, I know. I love Ralph. Okay, so that was kind of our Spidey corner. Tune in next week. We'll see what's happening. But yeah, I just thought it was kind of cool since we've been talking about Spider-Man for the last couple of weeks. So shall we move on to our main topic?
And now for our feature presentation.
So, as Aaron alluded to in the opener, we're here to celebrate Bruce, which is Heather's brother. And so, Heather, this is gonna be your show. I've been wanting to do this for a while, just to kind of memorialize him in a sense, and just kind of want to let the listeners know how special Bruce was to you and to your family, and obviously to us, because he still lives on in the show. So why don't you kind of just give us a little background about, your family, what's the age difference between you and Bruce, all that kind of stuff.
You got it. So, my immediate family consists of mom and dad, my eldest brother, Clyde. Bruce was number 2, and then I'm the baby.
You're the baby. You're the princess.
There is a 12-year age difference between Clyde and myself, and a 10-year age difference between Bruce and myself. So I was like a legit baby.
Baby.
And that also kind of puts my parents in a slightly older bracket than other people in my age bracket. So many of them.
I mean, I'm with you there. My older siblings are 9 years older than me. Then my younger brother, he's 9 years younger than me.
Right?
So it's like we're islands.
Yeah. I mean, and that was an interesting thing growing up because I was the youngest, but I was also sort of a firstborn because I was a firstborn girl. I kind of had only child tendencies because by the time I was fully cognizant of them, they were, aging out of the house or whatever. So I'm kind of completely screwed up, but that's okay.
That's not this podcast, Heather.
That's a different podcast.
Yeah, that's a different podcast. Yeah.
But we're a really close-knit family. I think, I can look back and see every holiday consisted of meals and board games and movies and, Christmas mornings. And Clyde and I, we're definitely have a few more similarities that caused some traditional sibling annoyances with each other, where Bruce and I didn't have that. But then what Clyde and Bruce had was very different because they grew up for such a period of time without me, together being kids, getting into trouble together, that kind of a thing. So
then this punk sister showed up,
Yes, but here's what's great. So when mom and dad told Clyde and Bruce that she was having another baby, Bruce adamantly said, okay, fine. And then when they when I was born, and Dad said it's a little sister, I guess Bruce stomped his foot, pouted, and said, "I didn't want a sister, I wanted a brother," and went to his bedroom.
Oh, no.
So
man.
the next day, though, because, Mom's home now,
Right.
it was one of whatever morning feedings at, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., one of those kind of things. Mom's doing her thing, and she feels this presence near her, and standing over her shoulder is Bruce, just watching and protecting and making sure it's all okay.
Nice.
And so for as much as he didn't want a little sister, I got some sort of approval, I guess.
She okay.
She's okay. So that's sort of the quick, that's my immediate family kind of a thing. And but just a lot of board game memories. Bruce taught me how to play baseball in the living room. And he always played on his knees, which I appreciated. I got, invited into a lot of things just because I was at home. I was young and I was there. He would play video games and I would just sit in the room while he played.
Right, yeah.
I fulfilled the little sister duties very well of just like following them everywhere.
Sure.
But yeah, like I never had a moment where Bruce wasn't engaged with something comic related or video game related or football or hockey.
Gotcha.
Like if I had to put like 4 kind of topics, that's kind of what they fell to. I mean, obviously with a plethora of other things.
Of course.
But those were the main things that I remembered. And, I remember, high school, going away to college, coming back home, and, Bruce having his full-time job and just always still willing to hang out with me.
Yeah, right.
There was never
thanks.
You again.
Yeah, right, yeah. That's cool. So, what's your earliest memory of him liking Star Wars, or how did that come into play? Because you didn't mention Star Wars in those 4 categories. So
I didn't. I mean, I kind of put Star Wars, I think, into the comic, video game, video geeky, like that whole
sure
section of things, I think.
Right, yeah.
I mean, obviously through pictures, I saw t-shirts, things of that nature. But for me, I don't know that I really understood Bruce in Star Wars until I was probably 6th grade, maybe. And, I would see the figures in his room or that Lego set of some ship or something. And again, I didn't fully know. I got introduced to Ewoks, as I've stated in the past, and the fuzzy bears, and I always sort of pretended to be really into Star Wars because I wanted to be connected to my brother, Well, I like Star Wars too.
But you did really like the evil murder bears, I
did.
Yeah.
I really did. Yeah. And so, as I continued to get older, and then all of a sudden the prequels started to come out, it kind of, Todd, like you have talked in the past, there was a new energy that kind of came to be for Star Wars fans. And so that's when I think I knew the depth of his fandom, to see it more than just something that was part of his life, and to like have him go to a movie and like be invited along. I was like, are you sure? Like
Right.
You don't have like your guy friends that you want to do, or like we went as a family when Phantom Menace came out and stuff like that. And I don't know if that that's just who was available or if that's who he wanted to experience it with.
Sure, yeah.
And then, yeah, from that point on, of course, at that point, then Queen Amidala was basically everything to me.
Like
she
for
just
real.
looked really cool. And I'm like, okay, I could get into this. Which then, you know, prompted the rewatching of the originals more than just murderous teddy bears.
Right.
Which is then where R2 became kind of a big deal for me. Because of the R2 sass. It felt like a little sister sass kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and then, you know, just kind of finishing that out and
Did you guys sit down and talk about it? Because what you described there is kind of you kind of finding your own fandom through
him.
Through him. But then, right, you know, when Phantom Menace came out, you kind of were grabbing your own thing. After that point, did you guys like sit down and talk about Star Wars, or was it more just like, hey, we're doing this as a family, and it just became kind of your thing?
Yeah, so we didn't really talk about it, and that's something I kind of really wish that I had the guts to do so with him. You know, who I was at the point of college age, I was a very different person. I mean, my anxiety levels were worse than what they are now. I cared very much about, again, and not to make this about me because I know this is the Bruce episode, but it was very much just about how other people thought of me. And so I didn't want to have a conversation with him about something I didn't understand. And I was his little sister, and I didn't want to just like bog him down with questions all the time. But what was interesting then is when I started working at Tyndale House, where he was working. So this was roughly like 14 years ago. I would see him like every day because we worked at the same place. And he basically wore Star Wars t-shirts all the time. I mean, not
right,
quite at the Todd Hoffman t-shirt level, but like it was up there.
Pretty close, yeah.
And that was my in. That's when we started talking about Star Wars, because I would keep asking him, wait, what's on your shirt? Wait, what's that one? Like, what's that ship? Or the AT-AT shirt? Or, you know, the mysterious shirts that just have like the Imperial logo on them, and talking about it. And that's, I think, what really opened my asking questions, because then I would find myself at home like rewatching one of the movies because I wanted to understand it better for him. But then I would text him a question about the film.
Oh, gotcha.
You know, like I would text him like, what do you think Yoda really means about the prophecy? And then I'd get this like pretty decent lengthy, you know, message back with all of his thoughts on it.
So it was like it was both like a natural curiosity about everything, but then also wanting to bond with your brother.
I was doing really well.
It's okay.
I just really wanted to impress him. I knew that I didn't need to. I knew that wasn't really what it was about.
But you didn't but also you didn't want to come to him and be like, who is Darth Vader? Or like, you know, like, what's a stormtrooper? Like, you wanted to ask that kind of second level of, like you said, like about this prophecy, like what is that? And so, because you knew he was at like kind of like a different level than you were, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think, you know, when somebody loves something so much, and, you know, as we kind of get into this, you know, Bruce was a purist. I mean, he, you know, he had the Timothy Zahn books there, you know, when the sequels came out, there was no watching of the previews. He wanted to go in cold. Yeah. Like he just, it was all about the originals. I mean, he owned the prequels. I mean, for as much as we all hate them, we all own them and rewatch them and love them. but
Any Star Wars is good Star Wars.
Any Star Wars is good Star Wars. I think ultimately it was, I don't want to embarrass myself, and I want him to be proud of the knowledge that I had. I mean, I remember watching hockey with him and just peppering him with questions. And then there was this like play that should have been called like a whistle because of something. And I said, Bruce, shouldn't they have called the blah, 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 blah? And he just looked at me like, hey girl, look at you knowing things.
Dude. Yeah.
Because we had reached a point where I had reached a different level of adulting, that we became friends. We weren't really just siblings anymore. And I think that's why earlier conversation about it was so much harder than later conversation about it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel worthy to have I'm like, I don't. What do you mean there's different types of stormtroopers? Aren't they all just this, like, I don't know.
Guys in white plastic. That's all they are. Yeah.
That's all they are.
Or plastoid and stuff.
Yeah. But he had an answer for everything. I mean, he wasn't, but what was so great about it is like when I would watch it, like specifically with Empire, when Luke and Yoda are together and poor R2's out in the rain, like looking into,
on his tiptoes.
Love like, dudes, it's like raining. Yeah. And I just like, I would text and be like, how could they leave R2 outside? And he would just, in the best Bruce response, be, just be like, sometimes it's hard to be a droid, Heather, and you're just like, what I didn't realize until I actually engaged with him is that he met me at the Star Wars level I was at.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I didn't have to like educate to get to his level.
Right.
Like he let me just come in where I was.
Yeah, absolutely.
So unfortunately, heavy conversation didn't happen until later. And so therefore, when he did pass, going in to see Solo by myself.
Yeah.
Was super hard because I remember having that conversation, like, we're going to go see Solo together, right?
Yeah.
He's like, well, duh.
Yeah, duh. Yeah. Well, yeah, so he kind of became your, like, movie buddy, right? So
yes.
How did this whole, Marvel, Star Wars thing kind of movie going happen?
Yeah. So it turned into, I just discovered I had no one else. A lot of the people in my life at the time when this all started, they just didn't really care about Marvel movies or X-Men movies. Because X-Men also fascinate me. I think that's a great story, and character placement of things, and being like, I don't know who to go see this with, and Bruce is like, well, I'll go see it with you. And we began bonding, and it was something easy, and we would go grab a burger beforehand and then go see the movie. Like, it turned into sibling date night, or as awkward as that sounds, like
activity.
Sibling activity night.
You're not in the South. Come on.
But he would, or like we would get a group of people together, but we would always, and he would answer all of my questions every single time when there'd be a preview out. And
now was he a purist with Marvel too? Like he didn't want to see in the previews either?
Those were different.
Okay.
Yeah. So Marvel and X-Men were very different. I do remember having a full conversation with him after the third X-Men movie, because he was not okay with that movie. He's like, that is not how it is in the comics.
Right.
I am not okay with this. But then the singular Wolverine movie came out, and he's like, well, we're going to go see that. So like clearly they hadn't screwed it up enough for him to stop seeing the movies.
Right. Yeah.
But he had opinions. But here's the thing you need to know. Bruce was quiet. Bruce didn't talk. But when he did, there was such wisdom and thought behind it that you're just like, wow.
So he was like pretty much like Yoda, you know?
I mean, kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so between Marvel, definitely had some of those rockin' t-shirts and a few figures. I know X-Men, he had a few more figurines and stuff. And so, and like his comics, he had X-Men comics and things of that nature. And so it was a pretty well-rounded, geeky,
Sure.
path of a guy. But at the end of the day, there'd be times I would check, like, hey, what are you doing? Or what's going on? Or, and 8 times out of 10, it was, oh, I'm watching, A New Hope. Or I'm into the 4th season of Clone Wars. Or
yeah.
It's something. Or, oh, I'm reading Heir to the Empire. Or, his book collection was also pretty good. So
nice.
It was his life.
So doing the Marvel thing, Star Wars kind of goes on a little hiatus after Revenge of the Sith, and then the Evil Empire or Disney comes in and purchases Lucasfilm. So did you guys have conversations about that? Did you talk about that a little bit? Because you also kind of got a Disney bug as well. So what happened there when Disney came in and purchased Lucasfilm?
Yeah, in full honesty, there was no discussion about it. I think if he had an opinion about it, I think I learned more about it after the fact than I did before the fact. I remember one of the great things about Bruce is when The Force Awakens came out, because, obviously there was this, period of time. We've got a new movie. It's all very exciting. He convinced his boss at work to do an extended lunch hour, because obviously coming out in December for a Christmas shindig, to have his little truck order department go see the movie over lunch.
Amazing.
So that's what they did. And I think he had seen it before that, but that was his second time, like, going to see it with this group of guys that he worked with. And I think in that, and then he then saw it, I think he saw it a third time in the theaters. Yeah, that sounds right. And I think he really enjoyed it. I don't think there was concern at that point about Disney taking over. I will say he was not a fan of The Last Jedi.
Okay.
On first watching, when he went to see it a second time with me, because I needed someone to go see it with, he said it was better.
You were there, duh. Yeah.
Well, and he alluded that I think he enjoyed it more because there were moments of it that I really enjoyed. So I think he saw it differently through me watching it. But yeah, I don't know that he was so concerned about Disney taking over. I think it was more kind of like all of us, please just don't screw it up.
Right, sure.
So, but nothing really in depth about it. I think he loves Star Wars, so any Star Wars you can give him, he'll take.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I got it.
I think he liked to stay out of the political side of Star Wars.
Right, yeah, and just kind of enjoy it,
For what that's worth, yeah.
Right. So fast forward, well, it's around the same time too. You meet us goofballs at church.
Oh my goodness.
And what did you kind of like, oh, there's other guys out there just as geeky as my brother, or what were your kind of thoughts about that?
Yeah, so I had mentioned to him, I said, yeah, so there's these guys I serve with at church, and it's basically like NPR radio about Star Wars over the headsets. It's just, it's chit chat. And he's like, oh, well, that's cool and whatever. And I was like, oh, yeah. And then Todd, he's got all these tattoos down his arm and, whatever have you, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then I remember the one conversation was being had, and I kind of stepped in to be like, oh, from a female perspective, you might want this information. And I remember telling him, hey, they've invited me on because I weaseled my way in to talk about women in Star Wars.
That's not true.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, but you did say you need you guys need a female perspective because us four yahoos were just chatting up all the time.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, well, that's cool. Yeah. And I think it seemed so far off base for me because it's just not something I would have normally done, that he's like, okay, here's my little sister being kind of crazy again. And so it wasn't until like the third or fourth time I was on when it was one of those moments where I get a message from Todd being like, we have no one to record. Would you be up for helping out? And I said, sure. That when you guys asked me to kind of permanently join, it was like, Bruce, they've kind of asked me to be a part of this podcast. And I think I just said yes.
What was I thinking?
And he goes, you make sure they're nice to you.
Oh.
Those were the first words out of his mouth. And I think it was in that moment that I knew he wanted me to experience things about Star Wars because he didn't tell me not to do it.
Right. Like, you have no business being in a Star Wars podcast.
I mean,
right,
basically.
Right. He took the elderly brother approach and said, first of all, I'm going to protect you, make sure they're nice to you.
Yeah.
And yeah. But like, to your point, Bruce was very quiet. So this would be, even though he had a ton of knowledge, it's not something that's like, oh yeah, I would do a podcast or, something like that. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is he wasn't one to necessarily just offer information.
Sure.
But if you asked him the right question, I mean, the running joke in the family is if you want to know how Bruce is doing, ask Heather. And that's because I would get information out of him. He talked to me the most, and I don't know if that was my little sister skills. Hey, Bruce. Hey, Bruce. Hey, Bruce. I mean, I don't know. We were roommates for a period of time as well.
Okay, so explain what happened there. Were you're like, I need a roommate?
Well, I was in a living situation with a couple women, and due to job changes and moving, I found myself with another friend needing a third person, and unfortunately, things just weren't working out for us to find another female. And I knew my brother wanted to move out of his apartment for certain reasons, and I asked my friend, I said, would you be willing to live with my brother? And luckily the place we had was a 2-story, so we could, like, the girls were upstairs and Bruce would be downstairs. I mean, so it all very much, it worked out. And those were great years. I mean, he introduced me to The Walking Dead. He helped me watch it through my, fingers in certain scenes, because let's just call a spade a spade.
Right.
And things like that. And, but yeah, so I think there was we bonded very uniquely, but it's because I would ask him questions, and I wanted to know what was in his brain, because he didn't just proffer that information.
Didn't share it. Yeah, he just didn't share it. Right.
But I mean, I know that he loved Boba Fett, I think, and he loved Obi-Wan. Like, those were his 2 top characters. He would always laugh at me when I would say Boba Fett and Jango Fett. Like, I just could not get them straight to save my life.
Was
Even
this
now,
just like a couple years ago, or was this like when you're younger?
Oh no, this was just a couple years ago.
Okay,
let's just call it. Just
just call it. Just call it. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I think he just really wanted people to love what their life was. And so he didn't want to say he just didn't want to speak negatively to other people. And so he, like, even when I would ask, like, we'd go see a movie, like, so did you like it? And he just kind of, yeah, I think so. I don't know what that means. Like,
is that 5 stars? Is that, is that 10
like,
stars? What is this? Like, what is this?
And I wonder if he wanted me to share my opinion before he shared his opinion. I don't know what that was, but it was always fun because when I couldn't for the life of me remember which movie it was, but we left a movie and he's like, that was really good, before I even asked him. And I was like, whoa, that was a really good movie.
I have a friend like that who I'll send her something that I got or something, and she would just reply, do you like it? And it took me a while to figure out that when she said that, it means she doesn't like it.
Yeah.
But she's seen if I like it.
Yeah. But yeah, so, and and when we had his memorial service, and hopefully this will really kind of communicate Bruce's Star Wars fandom.
Sure.
We set up Lego figures kind of up at the front because that's who he was. I ended the service with "May the Force be with you."
Yeah, of course.
But we had members of Tyndale House Publishers and then other people who came write little memories on cards, for the family and stuff. And one of them was from a coworker named Ryan, and this is a complete paraphrase, but something to the nature of, I would remember having conversations with Bruce about Star Wars, and I knew that I said something wrong because Bruce's face would just sort of get this little smirk on it, but he would still just let me make my point, even though I was completely wrong, because he was just so respectful for letting the person speak, but knowing full well that what I was saying was not accurate because he knew better. And I think right there, he's like, I know the truth. I know Star Wars, but I don't want to make the other person feel bad for what they haven't learned yet. And I think
He is
maybe
like Master Yoda.
Yeah, there's definitely some wisdom and like humility there at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's why I've taken the approach I have on this podcast. Of just, I don't care how you get into it. I don't care how deep you're into it. Can we just not make each other feel bad for what we do know and what we don't know and what we like and what we don't like?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's not who he was. And so I don't want to use a platform to celebrate something he loved and not honor how he approached it.
Very well said.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, no, I was just, I mean, the final question I was going to ask you is just like, what would, like from a listener perspective, like how can we remember Bruce? And really that's it. It's like, it's that, I got the t-shirt. It says Star Wars is for everyone. It was one of those from Celebration Chicago. And it's like, any Star Wars is good Star Wars. And, there's a lot of different people out there and a lot of different opinions. But, one of the things that you have to do is kind of respect people, maybe smirk a little bit, like when they get it wrong, but
But he had the big giant bushy beard, so
Yeah,
it was kind of hidden, and so you had to look for that sparkle in his eye of like, oh, you're so cute. But
Yeah.
but just, be okay when someone asks you a question and answer it. And if someone says they love porgs, be okay with that.
Be okay
if
with
someone
it.
says
Yeah.
they
will
love
try my
Salacious
best.
Crumb, be okay with it. I mean, just if that's the thing that got them hooked, then celebrate the fact that they're hooked.
Right. Yeah. They're in the family.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but he was truly the best. And it's, he passed on March 25th of last year. And for anyone who's lost somebody, hold on to the memory of all of the good, because it will help you continue to love what they loved. Because I think that was my biggest fear when he passed, was I'm not going to be able to do this podcast. But that's not what he would have wanted. So yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know it's, we've been talking about this one for a while and just saying, hey, really want to take a moment, and, his birthday was just a couple of weeks ago, right? He would have been 50. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
June 17th.
Yeah. So, I really appreciate you taking the time to kind of share that. And yeah, I think it is refreshing. Cause I figure Bruce probably wasn't on social media either.
He had a Facebook account.
Facebook.
But that was about it.
Yeah.
He had the Game Informer magazine come to him, and
yeah.
I don't think he was completely out of the loop, but that's not what was important to him. I think he was prepared to learn what knowledge he needed when he needed to learn it, and that's why that's the fun times of sitting in a living room with him, and Last Jedi preview comes on and we're all scrambling to find the remote to turn the channel, and just those kind of moments where he didn't need to see it, so he didn't.
Yeah. I know you shared this before, but let's end on this because it's one of the best stories. Thor Ragnarok. Walk us through that.
So Bruce and I go to see Thor Ragnarok because apparently it's a big deal. And you're sitting there and, the previews are rolling. And as any good Star Wars preview opens, you get that first opening kind of sound. And I wish we were live, or this will be video available later. He literally, in the same instance of plugging his ears, he sort of elbows me, puts his head down, and then I didn't know what to do because I had taken a vow to also not see it with him in solidarity. But then how was I going to know when it was done for both of us? So I watched it, which was okay because then I fell in love with crystal foxes and the whole world just moved on. But it was just fun that he just, and I don't think I shared this before because this was a new revelation, was specifically after going to Celebration and sitting at the episode 9 panel and being like, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be learning about this. I shouldn't watch the preview. This is not how Allreds do it. But him just not being embarrassed and just being in the theater, doing what needed to be done to not
He's
watch
in full like emergency tornado drill, like just like
yes,
yeah.
with like everyone, everyone around him being like, "Oh my gosh, it's the new trailer," and he's like, "La la 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 la," So just taking that bullet for him. And I will say, you watch the Rise of Skywalker trailer in this room full of people who don't know your story, who may have a similar story or something like that. And I remember tearing up and then hearing that laughter. And okay, sorry. Turning to Aaron to respond. And of course, in the moment, like freaking out.
Right.
We were both like, what? But also knowing I'm not experiencing this alone. I might not be experiencing it with Bruce, but I'm experiencing it with a new set of brothers. So, that went way differently than I thought that story was going to go, Todd.
I was trying to get it to a happy
going
place.
up. I'm there. All of that to say,
it's all good.
I'm the fact that he just 40-something-year-old guy in the theater of an adult movie, just committing to what he believed in.
Yeah.
It's just perfect.
Yeah.
So I assume he would have done the same for this.
I don't think he would do Celebration either.
Oh, it probably would have killed him. It probably would have been too many people.
Oh, no.
Or he would have done it, but it would have been like a day.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Structured.
Right.
So.
One final question. Like, did he ever do like Comic-Cons or anything like that, or any kind of conventions?
I took him to C2E2 one year.
Okay.
And I warned him. I said, "Okay, it's going to be a lot of people."
Oh, because that was the other thing. He's not a people person. Like,
he's not really a crowd person.
Crowd person, yeah.
But we went and he got some cool artwork. And I think it just, it's a loud, crazy environment.
Yeah.
I took him to the Joliet Star Wars Day. What was that, 2 or 3 years ago?
Yes, yeah. I met him there, yeah.
Which was a lot of fun.
Hey, I'm a stormtrooper.
Right. And so, yeah, so we did a little bit of that. It wasn't something I think he naturally gravitated towards doing. I do think Celebration would have been different, just because it is such a big deal.
Yeah.
And then the plan was to get him to Galaxy's Edge. And just like I had a plan with Lindsay about how to make it a trip where he'd have downtime among the chaos that is Disney.
Right.
So, but yeah. So
awesome. Well, again, thank you for being personal and sharing your story, and we thank Bruce for being a purist. It's not.
He was a purist with Yoda tendencies.
Yeah,
it was great.
Yeah, like literally Jedi tendencies there, So
yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Heather. That was awesome.
Of course.
Awesome.
Sorry to the listeners for the for the long journey of the episode.
It's all good.
Yep. So.
Well, how about we move on to News of the Week?
Okay, let's do it. News of the Week.
And now, the Star Wars News of the Week.
So, it looks like FoxNews.com has a fun little headline. Basically, Disneyland guests are stealing Star Wars Galaxy's Edge items and listing them on eBay.
Say it ain't so.
Oh my goodness. All right, let's take a look at this here. So who knew there was such a market for Star Wars themed sporks. Who knew there was a
Wait, in
market
Batu
for
there's sporks? Oh.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, this is laughable, people. So, less than a month after the opening of Disneyland's Galaxy's Edge, items seemingly stolen from within the park are now being sold on eBay for, big bucks.
Oh my goodness. It's true.
Oh my goodness, you guys.
It's on the internet, of course.
All
it's
of it
true.
is true.
Yeah, all of it's true.
It's true. All of it.
Perhaps the most popular item pilfered from Galaxy's Edge are the metal sporks provided at the Docking Bay 7 Food and Cargo Food Court, with one seller asking as much as $190 for a single asymmetrical spork.
I'm seeing higher prices than that.
Are you?
I'm seeing between 200 and 300 now.
For a spork?
For a spork. There's a lot of 4 of them for $800 or best offer.
I will give you $1
For a spork.
Spork. So, I mean, leave it to America to try to make $1. So,
Wow.
Hey, if people are willing to pay.
Yep.
Have any of these actually sold? I'm curious. I'll look into it.
okay, I don't know that the article specifically shares that.
One did sell for $225.
Oh my gosh. Hey, we talked about Yak Face a couple weeks ago, and so we spend money on plastic. I just didn't think we would spend that much money on a spork. But
Someone listed a metal spoon from Oga's Cantina. Rare, not spork. It sold for $22.
oh, there you go.
It's the spork or nothing.
No. There was the dad joke.
Wow.
We missed you, man. See, that's good.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, good to be
Oh
back.
man. So yeah. So
Yeah. So
I don't even know how to respond.
Yeah, no, you're just gonna go. When you go, you just steal a couple stuff, and then we can.
Oh my gosh.
You
I'll
can
I'll just get sporks for all of us. That way
Well,
you don't
no,
need to spend money on it.
Right? No, you'll sell it for us, and then that will fund our trip to Batu.
Oh, there you go. Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
All right, Aaron,
Oh my
save us from
gosh.
this.
All right. You want me to save you from this? All right, here we go. So actor Riz Ahmed, this is from SF Gate, by the way. He reveals that Homeland Security kept him from attending a film event. Oh no.
Uh-oh.
So this is the guy who played Bodhi Rook in Rogue One.
Yeah.
And he let the world know that he was kept from being able to attend Star Wars Celebration in Chicago because he was stopped by Homeland Security at an undisclosed airport. So he's been periodically stopped at airports over the past 10 years, despite his rising fame, all because of his race, which is not cool. So he was born in England, but is of Pakistani descent.
Okay.
So yeah, in April, the Star Wars Celebration Twitter account announced that he would be canceling his appearance due to circumstances beyond his control, but they didn't give any details as to what happened. And now we know that it's part of this systemic problem.
Yeah.
And so he said that comedian Hassan Minhaj can win a Peabody. I can win an Emmy. American fencer Ibtihaj Muhammad can go to the Olympics, but some of these obstacles are systemic and we can't really face them alone. I'm basically here to ask for your help because it's really scary to be a Muslim right now. Super scary. I've often wondered, is this going to be the year when they round us up? If this is going to be the year that they put Trump's registry into action? If this is going to be the year that they ship us all off? And he's connected what he's gone through with poor representations of Muslims on screen that he says, quotes, feeds the policies to get enacted, the people to get killed, the countries that get invaded.
Yeah.
So pretty disconcerting. Todd, Heather, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel, again, like from a Star Wars perspective, it's like, well, that's a bummer. I mean, like he's all ready to go and represent and, kind of celebrate, because he really didn't get to celebrate when Rogue One came out. So now here's this opportunity, and then he can't get there because of Homeland Security. It just,
Right.
it's a bum. I mean, that's a bummer. But then I think like you read, Aaron, I mean, there's a bigger issue going on from like an equality perspective, and that ain't cool either,
Right.
Just can't believe this is still something we're dealing with. I just,
Yeah, like almost 20 years later.
yeah.
Speaking
Well,
of 9/11.
Yeah, I mean, like, and good on him. Like, I mean, this is 2 months later. Like, I'm surprised this didn't come out the day. Like, he could have blown up Twitter in a sense of like, racial injustice and kind of flamed it a little bit, but he didn't. And so that to me also shows he's very mature and not reactive, even though on the other side, Homeland Security being reactive or whatever. I mean, because this guy's almost, I would say, A-list, or he has a music career and a movie career. I mean, this guy's super talented. It's not like, not that gives any right again for just because of who he is, but what I mean, like from a Hollywood perspective, I mean, he's known, and I don't know, it just seems bizarre in this time of age, but
It's dumb and stupid.
yeah. So, wow. Okay. Moving on. So you kind of got a hint of this last week when we had Brandon from Talking Bay 94 on. He just booked a trip because he saw this and was like, yes, I must go. Exploring 40 years of Star Wars tech with galactic innovations at the Academy. Basically, Star Wars luminaries gathered at the Academy Thursday night to tout ILM's industry-changing tech, which looms large on from Martin Scorsese's Iron Man to Jon Favreau's Mandalorian. And so, yeah, Brandon basically took this one-day trip out there, and he got to meet, Ben Burr, John Knoll, Gareth Edwards, all kind of cool stuff. But the whole night was called the Galactic Innovation Star Wars and Rogue One, and included people like special effects supervisor Don Dykstra, who developed his own camera for Star Wars, visual effects director Richard Edlin, ILM chief creative officer John Knoll, Dennis Murin, special effects guy, sound designer Ben Burtz, matte artist Harrison Ellenshaw, and a surprise editor Marsha Lucas, compositor Bruce Nicholson, and R&D supervisor Rachel Roll. So they kind of went through. I did watch the live stream a little bit of this, and it's fun kind of getting through all the behind the scenes of this and just what they had to do to make this happen. It was cool. So I'm pretty sure it's still online. I think it's still on YouTube. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely do it. But they just kind of talked about where they were at and then how they got to kind of Rogue One, which is kind of a callback to New Hope. And one of the coolest things was like John Knoll's little presentation. They showed how Gareth can use his like virtual camera to kind of do these kind of cam shots that he wanted, and seeing it real time of how it would look as like ships flying through space, and he would just kind of direct the camera and it would do it real time. And I'm just like, this is craziness. But yeah, they just talk about all kinds of special effects that they developed and did, and the fun they had at ILM. And so it was a kind of a cool little nod to Star Wars. And the other thing they kind of did, like in Rogue One 2, just showing the differences between C-3PO and then what Alan Tudyk did for K2SO. And they showed a bunch of behind the scenes stuff of how they framed Alan, and then they also did like real time, CGI where he can kind of figure out how K2 would look while he was performing. And it's awesome. And it was awesome. So yeah, if you haven't checked out, go check that out on the old live streams on YouTube there.
Sounds like a dream for all techie, geeky kind of people.
Yes. Yeah, Aaron, you would like the matte painting guy because like some of the stuff that he was doing, it just, when you look at it, you're like, whoa, that was crazy. And the funny thing, they showed, the one thing he showed, he's like, they were in the archives and no one knew what it was. And he's like, this is the first matte painting, and it's the sandcrawler on the, on the ridge where C-3PO is like, hey, over here. Well, the sandcrawler is like a tiny little brown little thing that was the matte painting. So it was pretty interesting. He's like, yeah, that's the sandcrawler,
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool, just kind of seeing the different perspectives he had to do with the matte paintings. So there you have it. Yeah. Check it out.
Fun. And we got one other news item on the docket, on the plate. Daisy Ridley reveals a hilarious story behind Carrie Fisher footage in The Rise of Skywalker. So, for those who have seen the trailer, y'all know that they're going to be reusing some old footage of the late Carrie Fisher to allow her to finish off her role as Princess Leia, or rather General Leia, one last time. So she shares a hug with Rey, which was actually an unused shot from The Force Awakens. And it's the story behind that shot is both hilarious and 100% representative of who Fisher was in life. So Daisy Ridley told Vulture that during that hug, she was actually whispering, "This is a effing long hug."
Okay.
Ridley said, "I was trying to do my acting like, oh my God, Carrie. There wasn't any discussion about what we were going to do." So
awesome.
Humor aside, still very poignant moment for Ridley to see Fisher brought back on screen. And we're all going to feel the same way once it finally comes out.
There you go.
She said, "It was very sad. I found it very moving to watch it because I do remember the original. And it's a strange thing to do for someone that's not around anymore to be brought back to life. It's eerie that it resonates so much with what the story is this time. It's pretty amazing."
Awesome.
So I think we can leave the news segment off on that.
Yes.
And let's scoot right on over to Cantina Chat.
All right. Aaron,
Yes,
so we missed you last week.
you did.
So what's been going on?
Yeah, so you missed me last week because I had to be up at 3 a.m. the next day to go do some bounty hunting. So yeah, as you may recall, I've been my name's been getting out there. I got plugged in with this independent filmmaking company out in Elgin, and through my roommate who's interning with them. And I did 3 days of unpaid PA work with them, production assistants, basically just being an extra set of hands to help do whatever it is that needs to be done on set. Yeah, it was exhausting and frustrating that I wasn't making any money, but
Right.
I tried to do the best job I could regardless, and they seemed impressed, so they've hired me on for pretty good money, and I've been doing sound stuff, and on some days, and other days I'm doing sound and swing, which is pretty much you're a PA until we need somebody to record sound, and then you're doing sound, and then you're back to PA work. But yeah, great company of people to work with. I've really gotten attached to that crew, and so yeah, do you remember I think it was at Celebration, maybe someplace else, There's the running of the hoods.
Yes.
And then they had the sound guys in the pink shorts.
Shirt. Yeah, that's celebration. Yes.
That's pretty much what I was doing. I was
You were in pink shorts?
No,
with the boom
not
mic?
quite.
Oh,
but
okay.
I was operating the boom mic, which it just felt kind of surreal because as when I was younger, one of the things I really appreciated about Star Wars was like reading the books about how the movies were made, and they inspired this love of filmmaking and behind the scenes work in me for a long time. And even though I wasn't interested in audio at the time, it's still one of the crucial functions that it goes into making a movie. And so I finally get to be able to live that and make some money to boot. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
And my full-time job has been super cool about me going out there and doing that. So kudos to them as well. My bosses are great. So that's what I've been up to. They're crazy, like 12, 13, 15 hour days. But it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Awesome, dude. That's great.
That's very, very cool.
Heather, what great tidings do you bring?
Well, it's not been an overly crazy geekified week. I did finally see Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Very
That's
good.
how
What,
far
'cause it was
behind I
on
am.
Netflix?
It was indeed on Netflix,
yeah.
so I was able to watch that, and
It's
think
good, isn't it? I feel like it's awesome, the visualization of the internet.
yeah, it was not really what I was expecting, so that was a fun surprise. I think the Disney princesses were on point.
That was amazing. Yeah.
I support all of those decisions that were made, which is great.
Yeah, all the t-shirts are great.
So I think that was super fun. And then I decided that it's never too late to start a new dream or a new thing. And yep, I bought a ukulele. So
Whoa. Congratulations.
I'm getting musical, so we'll see.
Oh my gosh.
You've taken your first steps into a larger world.
That's good. You've taken your first step into a larger world.
I've learned 4 chords.
That's really
I
all you
can't-
need.
I can't transition to
Today's
between the
church
chords
music.
yet, but it's very true, Aaron.
You'll get there.
So, but yeah, so that was like the big thing of my week.
So can we
That's-
have like a ukulele intro or something coming up, you know? Hey, if a seal can bark A New Hope,
There's hope for us all.
Yeah, there's hope
That's
for us
true.
all. Yeah, I'm
right.
looking forward to it.
So I've owned it less than a day.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'll get back to you on that.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Oh, so Todd,
Heather,
what's been going on?
I did not purchase a ukulele.
Oh,
But I kudos to you for doing that. That's awesome. Kind of slower week too. Not too much going on. Jen and I are counting down the days for Stranger Things season 3 to come out. So we've done a little bender, and we're finishing season 1 and trying to cram in season 2 before season 3 drops on July 4th. America. It's I don't know. It's going to be kind of hard not to watch all that in one sitting, but looking forward to Stranger Things. It's just that's my jam. It's my jam. The fam and I went and saw Toy Story 4 today of this recording. It's good. I just, the animation is phenomenal. I know we kind of, I think we were messaging back and forth, but there's that little, in the trailer, they show the cat, and like the cat looks like a cat, it acts like a cat, it's a cat, but it's a computer cat. And there's a whole little sequence of them with a cat, and it's compared, like I watched this video this week on Twitter, like I think Collider put it out, where Toy Story started and what Pixar has done to animation to this point, and you look at the dog they used in the first one to compared to now in Toy Story 4, this cat. I mean, it's like night and day. And the same thing with same thing with just the lighting, and they talked about the journey of Pixar of what they used, and how Monster Inc. they had to use a whole program for the fur because they used to individually draw. Yeah, they've done all these tricks, and now getting to Toy Story 4, it's gorgeous to look at, and they've done such a fantastic job. And of course, the story's good, and the last 10-15 minutes I'm like crying like a little girl, but that's okay. I'm okay with it. I really, I like toys, and and it's great. It's a great story. Keanu Reeves does a part in there. He's voice acting.
What?
Dude, he could do no wrong.
I know.
He could do no wrrong. And
I think he's the best human we've got.
He is. He is breathtaking. If you don't know it,
yes.
That was at E3, but it's really good, and it's super fun. So I highly recommend it. Really good family flick, but there's enough adult humor stuff in there, and enough to get your eyes watered because it's it's about friendship and family and all that fun stuff. So that's me.
All right, sounds good. Well, gentlemen, I think we did it, so I'm gonna sign us out.
All righty, take it away.
Thank you again for listening to us. We're crazy, but you keep coming back. For listening to another episode of WSTR Galactic Public Access. Check us out on our social media, WSTR Media, all lowercase, all one word. We always just want to hear from you, so feel free to comment. You can tweet us. You can rate us on the iTunes. You can shoot us an email at mailbox@wstrmedia.com, or leave us a voicemail at 630-557-WSTR, also known as 630-557-9787. Don't forget to check out our back catalog. Cadillac?
It's like a Cadillac, and
it's like a Cadillac. Yeah.
Our
fancy.
It's okay. Aaron said microwave instead of microphone, so it's your job to continue that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So basically, go to podcast.wstrmedia.com. You'll find all of our episodes on there. And of course, we've got our merch store, which is store.wstrmedia.com. So as of this recording, we are at 706 followers on Instagram.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Not bad.
It's not bad. It's really, it's huge.
Yeah.
But there is still a challenge out there to get to 750.
You threw it down last week.
I did. I was not happy with 700. I want 750.
Except nothing but the best.
Right. Yeah. So, the contest is still open. So check out Instagram, WSTR Media, to find out how to get signed up to win. Our contest is going to end on July 1st at 12 noon Central Standard Time. And by the time this particular episode airs, we're going to have a winner. So, dun-da-da-da.
Right.
So, do all the things, people.
Do all things. And if you get to 750, Heather's throwing stuff in, man.
What?
Now, here, okay. Is this Bruce's stuff?
One of the pieces is Bruce's and one is mine.
Wow. See?
Perfect.
There you go. Perfect.
So it kind of goes beautifully with this particular episode.
It does.
I think we need to make it happen. But next week
we won't know though. We won't know.
We're not going to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully it'll just be a serendipitous. That's not a word. You know what I mean. Next week, we're coming back with episode 130. We've got Jeremy from the California.
Yes.
Coming straight in
that
from
wretched hive of scum and villainy, California.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
That's better than what I actually have to share. So,
I'm sorry.
no, it's good. It's good. Oh man, but
I'm getting tired and my manners are dropping like flies.
it's all good, people. So, coming in from Batu is what I'm reading here. So, I'll be intrigued to know what he has to say.
First-hand accounts of Galaxy's Edge.
I'm not ready. It's a good thing I have a week to prepare.
Yes, exactly.
So, well, Aaron's tired. It's been an emotional episode for me. We may as well just wrap this thing up.
All right.
So, gentlemen, are you ready?
Ready.
I am ready.
So, now
This is podcasting. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce.
Aw, Bruce.
For my ally is the Force, and a powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You must feel the Force around you, here, between you, me, the tree, the rock, everywhere. Yes, even between the land and the ship.